Welcome to the Editrix, the podcast where we talk about satire, writing, and niche stuff like jeggings.
Welcome back to the Editrix podcast. Woo!
Woo!
We are joined today by Kelli Huggins. Hi, Kelli.
Hi, Kelli.
Hi, thanks
Are
for
we
having
saying
me.
your name right? That was our
You
fear
did.
last time. Okay.
Yeah, no, what you guys had it perfect last time. You're all right.
I have something to say.
Say it.
Katie, I'm circling back on the jeggings incident. So if you didn't tune in last episode, which if you haven't, you should, Katie came upon a pair of $9.99 jeggings in a Walgreens, was it?
Yes, it was the Walgreens.
And she purchased those jeggings. I think we all still need to Venmo you our $2.50.
But no.
We're
You
gonna
don't
add it
have
to the books. But that's gonna be like our sisterhood of traveling pants, but instead of pants, they're jeggings. And so we are going to ship them to all our different places and wear them.
Whenever we're in need, like whenever we have an emotional
In
crisis
need, yes.
to get through, the jeggings are there to support us as well as each other. Like we're emotionally support each other in spirit, and the jeggings support us physically.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Physically and emotionally and mentally.
And I think it is important to also note that they were purchased not only at Walgreens, but at the Walgreens pharmacy.
Mhm.
Right at the pharmacy. I just happened to be at the pharmacy, and I looked over and I saw them, and we had been talking about jeggings, and I said, wow, that's great. And if you're just catching up on this story, I waited a week between seeing them, and then I went back on a Friday, by the way. I spent a Friday by myself at Walgreens in the pharmacy, and they were still there, and that is
Of course they were.
a miracle. No, of course they were still there. No one bought them. They were on sale. If you're watching on the video version, here they are. Are you ready?
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Grand reveal.
Oh my God.
Like a
Beautiful.
glove.
Beautiful.
Hold on, let me back up a little bit.
Yes.
They
That's
actually
it.
look like they're probably very
Yeah.
They're very what?
comfortable.
They
Yeah,
actually
they do.
are. They actually are. They're larges, which is great. They're not, maybe don't fit like a traditional jegging.
No, this
They're
is
a
like
little
magic.
different. They have pockets? No way.
They have back pockets.
Wow.
Well, Katie, now that
They
you've had the
fit you
jeggings a
perfectly.
month, have they changed your life, or have they helped you through a hard time, or did they make
Yes.
you realize something about yourself?
To answer your question, they are new to my life,
Right.
and they're very comfortable, and they help me understand what jeggings are.
That's the first step, so that's good.
And
It's a great
they're-
coming of age moment.
Okay.
I feel like this is going to be like your moment where like you have a mean, I don't know your boss, so like whatever, but like you have like a mean boss who's always like putting you down and being sexist, and you wear these pants to empower you
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
stand up to your mean boss,
yeah,
like Working Girl style. I haven't seen Working Girl, but like if she does that in the movie, that's going to be you.
yes. Oh, that's not 9 to 5. I almost was like, I'm Dolly Parton, but that's not the same thing.
I mean, you could do a 9 to 5 if that's where your coming of age journey, like your jeggings journey takes you. Like
It involves
you-
murder.
these
that movie.
Yeah. these jeggings give you the confidence to commit a murder.
To murder my
Whoever you need to murder is fine.
whoever and get
Yeah.
away with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I got
anyway-
invited on to be an accomplice.
So these jeggings are gonna lead me to murder,
But in a good way.
but in a really good way. I'm gonna
Like
like
empowering.
realize my self-worth and confidence through these murder jeggings. Okay. Yeah. So whoever's next, remember that tale.
It sounds like it's been
Yeah.
going really
So
well.
you've done the murder, like the empowerment murder, like you've washed the blood off, and then you give the pants to Kristen.
Okay, so Kristen, you're next, I think.
Like it.
Whenever you want off the podcast, you can share your address, and I'll
I'll
ship
just
them
I'll
to
just say it
you.
now. Everybody can ship me something.
Yeah.
That's kinda
Yeah,
cute.
no, I'll send
So-
you a DM with my address.
Harry and David gift basket.
Oh my God, Harry and David. I haven't thought of them in a long time.
Some pears.
So that's our Jacking story. Thank you for listening, everyone.
It's the monthly update.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for next month with the
I'll
next
watch them.
update.
Ongoing.
Let's talk about cartooning
Yeah.
with Kelli Huggins, our first guest.
Thanks for
Yay!
being here, Kelly.
I'm excited.
How did you get into cartooning?
Sure. So I feel like I have a very strange path into this, which hopefully will make this better listening. I'm 36, almost 37 now, and I didn't make my first comic until I was probably 31. So it's never too late, guys.
I love that.
Yeah, so I don't even remember exactly the impetus to make that first one, other than when I was in my mid to late 20s, I realized I didn't have any hobbies. So I decided to try watercolor. Again, probably like 27, 26, 27, 28 in that range. And I bought a really cheap palette at Michael's and some cheap brushes and cheap paper that I still use to this day. That's my main takeaway here too, is use cheap art supplies, because then you're not going to be afraid about wasting anything. And I started that, and it took a while to actually start making things that I liked, but I wasn't worried about it. And then I did the, type A thing that of course I was going to do, is I turned it into something that I then would, put into my work and try to monetize. So, it really backfired on me. It's not not really like a hobby anymore. But the first comic that I made, actually, it's never been published, though I've tried. It is about a 20-page history comic that is about drunk dog acts on vaudeville in the late 19th and early 20th century.
It's amazing.
Love that.
Because
That's
I should
great.
also specify, not only am I a historian, I am a historian of human-animal interactions, mostly specializing in dogs.
I love
Wait, is that real?
That's great.
I know it sounds like I made it up, but it is genuinely true.
That's amazing.
That would be a great bit, though, if I just like had you going, where it was like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got like a grad scholarship to go do that, which I genuinely did.
Wow.
So, I mean, academia has collapsed now, so you can't really do that as well anymore. But back in the day,
while it lasted.
Yeah. So I still putter around with my dog history. But yeah, so it's a comic about these dogs that would they were trained to act as if they were drunk. They weren't actually intoxicated, I should mention, so that your podcast isn't boycotted.
We probably should have mentioned this when we were introducing Kelli. But one of the reasons you were like a top choice for our first guest was because you submitted to us and we were like, oh, we really like this. And usually, when we get submissions, it's like we all look at them and we put our own notes, and it's like some of us lean one way, some of us lean another way. But when you submit to us, I feel like we're always like, oh my God, I love this. Unanimously, we all love it. And I felt like you just don't miss. And so every time we get a submission, our
I miss
responses
occasionally.
But I just feel like we were like, our response was just getting more and more intense, like, oh my God, I just love her so much. And so we're just becoming more and more obsessed with you, with everything we read.
I feel like with the editors, it would be hard to take see cartoon pieces and judge it like a writing piece, because so much work goes into it, I'm assuming, which is evident in your work, Kelli. So but for you all to say that, it's not like you're placing that aside. You're saying it's so good that it doesn't matter what it is. We're going to take it. Mm-hmm. So that's lovely.
Say more. No, it's been such a positive experience publishing with you.
Oh, thank you.
And not even realizing I just assumed that you were like, oh yeah, these are fine. Like put them in the queue.
Oh,
Like,
we love.
Yeah.
We're big
so
fans.
it was sort of a surprise when I listened back to the first episode, and I was like, oh, they really like me. I had my like Sally Field moment where I was like, oh.
Yeah, we really do.
So in the last episode we talked about how much we love your ideas. So what's your process for developing a cartoon? Where do you get your ideas from?
Okay, so I'm trying to come up with a way to say it sound not like the most pretentious art person on the planet, but literally they just kind of like come to me randomly, which is it's a terrible answer. Like my answer should be I sit down every morning at 5 a.m. and I grind out my 500 words. Absolutely not. No, I am beholden to the muse, and random, clearly, as you can see based on the submissions, like random things will come to me. And and a lot of times it will be either a title. So some of those titles come out like fully formed, and then I write the piece around it. Other times it's just like one image. So we'll start with the one you talked about last time, which was veteran duck actor can only book those oil spill soap commercials now. So this is one where I actually can sort of trace some of the line from point A to point B. I have a couple others that are just like, I don't know where that came from. But this one, so I've had this long running joke with my mom about those commercials. We all know the Dawn commercials with the oil slicked ducks. And every time I see them, it's like I have questions. And I think part of my process is that I never grew out of that toddler phase where it's like I question everything to absurd lengths. So things like this come out. Okay, so they want you to believe. This is going to be a conspiracy theory now. Okay,
yeah.
So I've come on to really make you regret this choice. So the ducks, right? They want you to believe this commercial is sort of like filmed while they're like on site, really rescuing ducks, right? Like they want you to have that vibe where they're like, we just plucked this one out of the ocean and we're saving its life, right? But why is it like in a studio that's so well lit? Right?
Right. So it's like the moon landing.
Right? Right? Yeah. No, they're faking these duck commercials. They are taking innocent ducks.
Oh God.
Like now Dawn is going to contact you and be like, you have to take this down. No, my theory is they're taking ducks, and as my family will say, they're gunking them. They're these gunky ducks, right? Just for the commercial.
Hopefully
so that's
it's
my
like
conspiracy.
gunk, if that's true. Like it's not harmful gunk.
Yeah, I'm imagining it's like
gunk.
Stage
gunk. Like fake blood, like
would be chocolate syrup. The conspiracy theory that you're going to say is that they're deliberately causing these oil spills so they can get the duck footage. Like Dawn is behind the Exxon Valdez.
I've seen no evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, let's just assume.
So
Dawn's in with big
oil. It's possible. Hand in hand. So I have had this like long running joke about these gunky ducks, right? And the horrors of this commercial. And it somehow evolved one time into a riff. Again, a lot of these are just a riff where I'm just being ridiculous about like how they cast the ducks in these ads. And it's like gotta be, like the worst gig you can get as a duck actor, right? To like have to go into like makeup, like be covered in whatever it is.
Makeup,
So it grew out of that joke about, like who would be the most pathetic duck that would be booking this gig. And that's where you get veteran duck actor. And then once that idea happens, it's really pretty speedy from there. The process. Actually, I brought a prop here. This is my comics journal. Yes, this is from Michael's. I believe you can still get it. It is a fancy lion with sunglasses.
Okay.
And yeah, this is I have journals for all of my creative endeavors. I have to keep them separate. So this is my comics one, and I will write it out first. Generally, I'll write the text, and then I kind of draw out. Yeah. So here is the text. I know this is really compelling. This is the original text of veteran duck actor.
Oh, wow. Cool.
This is, you know, watch this on YouTube, people, because you don't want to miss this.
I would say if you're listening, Kelly's holding up a notebook. A rough draft notebook, I would guess. But
and here
there
are
he
the
is.
Cute.
these are the original drawings of veteran duck actor. So they all start like that.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
They all get a
sketch it out.
A little sketch.
Sigger.
So that's the process. I mean, others. I mean, another one that I love, that I felt like, I mean, you guys published it and said lovely things, but I felt like, you know, didn't get like as much reaction as I thought it was going to be, and maybe is my favorite that I've ever done, was POV, your dentist and hygienist.
That's the one I wanted to ask you about.
Oh, perfect. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, if you've got.
No, just like tell us.
Yeah, was this based on a real life vibe that you experienced?
Yeah, so not an affair. But so this one, this is a long gestational one here. So I was about 16, and I had to have a root canal for various dumb reasons, and I was in the office, and the dentist and the assistant hygienist were just having this conversation as if I was not in the room.
Oh yes.
And it wasn't like a romance thing, but it was about like this big house he was building overlooking the Hudson River, you know, like this like very kind of not intimate in like a sexual way, but like this very personal conversation, and, you know, like all of these details. I was just like I'm here. Right? Like, did you forget? Great. And so I've always kind of joked about that. You know, that you're just sort of invisible in the chair, like you are literally just that one tooth that you're working on, and like not connected to anything else. And then probably like a week before I submitted that comic, because the turnaround is so fast once I had the idea, I was just having a regular cleaning, and I was just looking up at them and thinking about how specific that view is of a dentist or a hygienist, like so close to your face, and the light is so bright, and it's just such, you don't get that view in any other situation. It's so specific, because I had this written, actually I'd had, you know, dentist and hygienist are having an affair, like tell that story in my short story notebook, because I also of course write ridiculous short stories. And then when I'm in that chair, I was just like, oh, it's a comic. Like it's a comic, because what's so funny is that those like weird proportions and like hands in your face.
Yeah.
And to do that one, because I'm not a strong drawer. And this isn't like a humble thing. If you've seen my work, like it's clearly like sketchy, right? And I've just embraced a lack of talent as style. But I'm there with my phone, like taking photos of my hands, like with like pens in them as if they were dental instruments, to try to figure out that very, very specific perspective.
And that's commitment, so cool. People. That is commitment.
Because if you messed it up, the joke wouldn't work. Yeah. Like it had to, like you had to have that, like, oh, I've seen that view before. So
that's so smart.
This is the lengths that I go to for my art.
It works.
Very cool. I love that one.
Yeah. You imagine, like, when people are at work, they're kind of, usually they're kind of just like different and they're on in some way, but that seems like they're letting their hair down a little bit, and it's like that's so weird to imagine them actually having an affair, a messy affair.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly, like I said, I don't know where the affair component came into my brain, but like I said, sometimes I can trace it a little bit, but then there's like that little bit of like a link to the twist that I can't quite replicate. Like
I think we all are observational, and we want to take that from and turn it into comedy, but I feel like you're inspiring me to be like, here, turn that into something. Like I sometimes will think something is so weird and funny. I don't know, like a dog walked up, like a loose golden retriever on our walk today I have 2 dogs, just like walked up to me, and I'm like, who the hell is this? Where, like, more stuff like that needs to be put into something. And I appreciate you saying this stuff because it's inspirational.
Yeah, I would. First of all, I would love to read that. My mind is already being like, how do you spin that, right?
Yeah, it had no collar. It was very friendly, but I'm like, I don't know you. Like,
Yeah.
I know my dog. My dogs were fine, but I was like, go away. I said, please leave now. Bye. And it did. I don't know where it came from. We're just like in a subdivision. Anyway,
I love it.
we
I'm
can
looking
workshop
forward to that piece. Yeah.
Kelly, I just want to know if you have like a master plan or like big dreams for anything. Like, do you have a dream project that you want to work on or a dream job? Like, what do you want to do with this?
Sure. So, I mean, I think for me, really, my dream projects are something that bring together all of the weird different facets of my creative life. So something like a historic comic. I have actually 2 different, I have my like Dogs on Vaudeville that I really dream of being like a full-length graphic novel. There's another one about human ostriches, which were like vaudeville guys that like ate metal and stuff and were called human ostriches. And there are so many like messed up stories. It's amazing. So something that sort of weaves the different kind of pieces that I work on. So like fiction and comics and nonfiction all together into something just utterly unpublishable.
Cool. It sounds amazing.
all right, next we're going to talk about our favorite pieces. My favorite is from February 18th. So we're on the right track. It's called Hey, It's Me, Syphilis, and I'm back on tour. And this is how I learned that syphilis was back. So I'm just like a sucker for a weird, funny title to bring me in, and this definitely brought me in. And the picture, if you can't see the picture, I'll put it up here, but it's a bunch of phallic shaped vegetables and fruit with condoms. I don't know why I said it like condoms on the tip. And that right there, I'm like, I'm in. This is for me. And anyway, so and then I saw like the quote from the BBC, and I'm like, oh, this is real. And just from the point of view of syphilis is very funny, and it's just like an old fashioned disease that I think she brings it kind of back to that. But yeah, she talks about like Henry VIII and his 6 wives.
Speaking of the title, I will say when we got this piece, I was like, this is terrifying, except but I also live, so in LA, there's this regional thing where we have like STD billboards. Oh. So I knew syphilis was back because there's a fucking billboard like all around LA that says syphilis is back.
It's like a comeback tour.
So back.
It's so back.
I just want people in the rest of the world to know this. There's like we have STD billboards in LA. I guess there's a foundation that's like raising awareness for STDs, but it's literally like gonorrhea. It's so terrifying. As somebody who's like a little bit germophobic, it's just like horrifying to like drive around and being like, he's timeless, and then like a photo of like the Golden Bachelor.
They're getting it. I forgot to say that it's like, I love how she mapped onto like it's on tour, like she's like syphilis is damn Taylor Swift. Like, I mean, why not? I love that juxtaposition too.
Did you say who wrote that?
Oh, but I did not. By Yuki, I think it's Yuki How. I think it's, I don't know how I'm saying again. We might be butchering how we say. I think it's How. Yuki How.
That's probably a good segue into my choice because I hopefully will pronounce this person's name correctly. I picked You're Lucky I'm Doing This. This is The Last Wedding I'm DJing by Shoshana Deal, I think is the correct way to pronounce it. This one I loved because I thought it was like a really good sort of character study. And it's one of those things that you don't think much about this particular character, but once it's in front of you, it's like, oh my God, yes. I loved this one because it perfectly described the DJ that I had for my wedding, who was probably, my number one sworn enemy, even though I've been married for 10 years at this point. I hated him so much. I had like I was the bride. I had 2 requests when we met before the wedding. I told him I wanted to hear Shake It Off by Taylor Swift, and I wanted to hear Single Ladies by Beyonce. Those were the only 2 things I asked for, and he did not play those songs.
No.
Yeah, he was the worst. And he just he had his own ideas for what he wanted to do. Like, he wanted us to do this thing where my husband Matt would throw my garter to all of the single men and they would win a case of beer.
No.
And we're like, we're not doing that. And then at the wedding, he's like, oh, we got to do it. And I said no. And then I turn around and they're doing it.
No.
And
no.
I'm like, there's no case of beer. Like, how is somebody going to win a case of beer? Like, we don't have a case of beer. And so it was just a lie.
Do you think that him not playing your songs was retaliatory for not wanting to do his idea?
I don't know, because he did it anyway.
What a douche.
He was the worst. And then the weirdest thing was I had a dance with my brothers at my wedding instead of a father-daughter dance, because my father passed away a long time ago. So instead I danced with my 2 brothers. And like, we have a very like brother relationship where like we don't hug and like we aren't touchy or anything. But they both agreed to dance with me at my wedding. And so like I started with my older brother, and then halfway through the song switch over to my younger brother, and then my older brother just appears and he said the DJ told me to come over and I quote have a threesome.
What?
So like the DJ decided like, oh, you go over and the 3 of you like slow dance together. And it was like so weird. And it was like, who is this man at my wedding? I hate him so much.
I hate him so much.
I hate him.
Thank you.
And,
yeah, I feel like I've gotten off track, but I just really like Shoshana's piece because I feel like she really captured this. Maybe she had the same DJ at her wedding. But
well,
yeah,
we know what you're doing when you get the jeggings now.
I was just gonna say murder. Murder jeggings.
I will find this man. I'm gonna check my receipts and be like, who is this man? What's his address? And murder him in my jeggings.
Oh my God. This is not helpful, but I chose my wedding DJ because he had a weak personality on purpose.
That's a good.
And I knew he would just like do whatever we wanted. And we were not picky, but like he was just like a soft-spoken guy. I was like, this is not a DJ, but I want this man at my, his name was Chad. So you would think that he was a your wedding DJ, but he was the best. And I saw him get pulled over by the cops after our wedding. But anyway, I'm sorry, I got off track too, but I had to say that.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't spend enough time talking about how much I like Shoshana's piece, but it was really good. She really captured this personality, this particular character, and it really spoke to me.
I like the little sermon angle too. That was just so. I was like, this guy has so much going on.
I think that kind of does feed into though, like how if you have like a great idea and a great character, like it kind of sparks conversations with the people, I guess now to be pretentious, with the people who interact with your art. Like it kind of like it, I don't know, I feel like those are the best pieces, or like those pieces get like shared and stuff when the audience, again, the people who are interacting with your art, like they can it like hits on something, it hits a chord in their real life, and they're like, oh yes, it's like this thing that happened to me.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree. That's so me. Or they'll definitely get more into it.
And like when you can find something where it's like, oh, I hadn't thought of that, but yes, exactly this, where it's like completely unexpected but expected at the same time.
Yeah, the piece that I picked weirdly is a piece that is the opposite of that, because I picked the NPR Tiny Desk concert, Desk is My Desk by Rachel Chow, and I am not familiar with the NPR's Tiny Desk concert. I'm like aware of it like in the zeitgeist, because I think it's been like mentioned a lot, but I thought this was so great because just like the idea of somebody like trying to work at their desk while this concert is happening is so funny to me. And I feel like it's the premise like lands like even if you're not like super familiar with like the Tiny Desk concert. And I also love the title, like just on like a word. Like I don't know, like sometimes I'm kind of like a word nerd where it's like the word order does matter, like and the choices you used. And so there's something really satisfying about the repetition of death. I think normally like you don't want to use like the same word twice in a row, but like the fact that it's here 3 times and it's each time we see it is like in kind of a different refers to like a different desk. It's like it's so like the linguistic nerd in me is like this is so satisfying. So yeah, and it just is kind of I don't know, you can just tell the silliness from the title. It's great. And then I had a little I had a 1B for my which was the daily itinerary of a middle schooler in 2007 who clearly loves her handwriting by I hope
Oh my
gosh,
wow.
Emily, Emily Cap.
Emil.
Okay. Did I get it right?
Perfect.
No, by our own Emily Cap, which was so funny that I wanted to give it a little wink.
I appreciate it. I love my handwriting, not afraid to say it. And I thought of it because it was like last fall. I was at a bar writing with a friend, just on a Saturday, just having a beer.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, we were just like talking and stuff, and I wasn't working on a laptop. I was working just writing in my notebook, and I recently switched from pens to mechanical pencils, and I just
Whoa.
love the way, yeah. I was really loving the way it was gliding, you know. It was just smooth, and I was talking about it, and I just was saying out loud how I liked how it looked, and the bartender was like, and I don't know, I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I like my handwriting. I'm not afraid to say
Yeah.
it. And the bartender
Oh
was
yeah.
like, I like my handwriting, and I'm not afraid to say it. And I was like,
No.
no, it was in a fun way. He was
Okay.
mocking me in a fun way, and that was when I was like, I think I need to write about this because I'm not afraid to scream it from the rooftops.
Okay, that's good that he wasn't being mean because then we would know like
No,
who
no,
the
he was
next
joking
Jegging
in a
murder
fun
victim is.
way. It was in a
Murders.
fun way, luckily. But my favorite piece from this past month is a toppy. If you didn't know, we have a general inbox, but we also have a timely inbox for timely news. And when we get one in and we have to weigh on one, we say, got a toppy in, aka topical. Anyway, my
Toppy
favorite
alert.
No, when I found out that this was the term of endearment, I was very happy about Toppy.
toppy is so fun and silly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really ups the mood for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it better too because I feel like the news is so depressing right
Yeah.
now, and like every time we get a toppy, I know it's gonna be like something about like something awful, and so it's like,
Right.
oh, it's fun.
But at
Like
least it's called a
toppy, I love
toppy.
it.
Yeah.
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 But my favorite one from this one was a toppy, and it's called What I, a U.S. Mint Coin Designer, Did Last Week by Madeline Hester. I hope I said your name right. But I don't know, when a toppy is done well, it just, what's it called? It tickles my, what's that
Funny
phrase?
bone.
Yes,
Fancy.
and I like when it's done really well, I'm like, yeah, yes, I like that. And I just, what I really liked about this one, especially, was that it was already about a ridiculous thing about government employees having to say, write 5 things what they do each week. So it's almost like, how do you take an already, it's sometimes it's hard to make fun of something that's already ridiculous. Like, where do you go from there? And they did a great job of really taking it from there. And like, it's so niche too, like the US Mint coin designer. Like, it just, I can picture this person in their back office just I don't doing all this. I don't know. I
Way in
just
the
really
back.
way in the
Way in the back
back.
of their
No
office.
windows.
No.
Um, and I thought the details were great, and I just love the premise as well, the details.
Kelly, did you have one?
I did actually.
Ooh,
And I
yes.
picked two just in case somebody used mine, so that I had a backup, because one of mine was Emily's also. Because
Nice.
I
Thanks.
just, as someone, I showed you my notebook, so as someone with terrible handwriting, like I was so jealous of you in middle school.
You? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Um, but my pick was Your Loser Boyfriend, the card game
Oh
So
yeah,
good.
by Arushia Huja.
I love all her
And
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, me
also
too.
big fan.
Yeah, yeah.
Always,
Yeah.
and I'm always gonna like stump for the illustrator here
Mhm.
also.
Yeah.
So there's that, just loving the illustrations. And I love the device. I'm a sucker for kind of like epistolary kind of piece where you are writing it in the form of something else. And I've never thought to write anything as a card game. And I was amused and jealous, which is actually one of the highest compliments I can give. It's like, oh, why didn't I think of this?
Yeah.
So just really, really clever, really fun all the way through.
Yeah, I really love her as well. Like I feel like all of her stuff is like a total smash, like in Smash or Pass. It's always a smash.
I remember reading that one and I remember laughing out loud. I think there was one image of like I forget exactly what it was called, but it was like the boyfriend hugging her from behind when
Yeah.
she was paying, and it really made me cackle. It was
Yeah.
one of like the special cards
Yeah.
or something.
Hers, a lot of
Yeah.
her stuff is like, let's take down men a little bit. Murder
Mhm.
Jeggings, maybe we
Which
should
is
ship them to
great.
her. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like it always resonates with me. I am married to a man, but he's good. But like but just everything she says is like so you're like it's one of those what you were saying, yeah, Heidi, you're like, that's so true. That's so you feel it in your bones whenever you see it. And she just like is
Mhm.
so good at taking some men's stuff that they are prone to do and turning it into pieces that are so funny and so true and so they go deep within you and just be like, oh yes, I feel that.
I feel like she's does such a good job at making it not feel like angry man hating or whatever. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
Men
yeah.
can
You're
like
right.
add us
Yeah.
like if they feel
Yeah. So
differently, but like yeah, it's like it really is like it hits on like it's not just like men suck. It like hits on like a very like specific frustration that you have like with your loser boyfriend or she just had one that was like men who allowed women to speak up in meetings and
Yeah.
um for like Women's History or International Women's Day.
Yeah.
And it's like it kind of like voices that frustration of like getting cut off and like not being allowed to speak in meetings or like men just being like I'm an ally and like they're total assholes. Which is something that we have to deal with the men like patting themselves on the back for being so supportive and like actually being not supportive at all. Not that I'm thinking of anyone specific.
I am
But
Kristen's DJ.
Yeah.
He did not listen to you.
He was not supportive.
No.
yeah,
I
He was
hate that
he was
guy.
no Chad. He was no Chad.
but yeah, it's not so much that it's just like oh fuck men. It's taking like a very specific frustration and kind of like exploring it and having fun with it, which is kind of one of the functions of satire is to take a frustration and make it funny.
Exactly.
So yeah, she's great.
This was a super good and fun way to get into your brain, Kelly. And I feel like this was a good first guest episode.
Thank you, Kelly, for coming.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly.
No, this was so much fun. Thank you. Now I feel a lot of pressure to come up with something really great to send you next time. I'm going to send you one and you're going to be like, oh, this one didn't hit.
I don't like her anymore. She's peaked.
Yeah,
You
the
the
luster is
jacking.
gone now that you got to know me a little bit. You're going to be like, oh, actually,
Now that we
we've made
know.
a terrible mistake.
Just include in the email, include exactly how you thought of it.
Okay,
Oh,
perfect.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to the Editrix. Please check us out at thebelladonnacomedy.com. And as always, submit your funny pieces because we're excited to read whatever you may have, toppy or otherwise.
Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
And thanks, Kelly.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Kelly.
Kelly. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.